Hi, I'm Rob Vanstone, unfortunately, and this is the latest edition of the Rider Rumblings video podcast. I've lost count of the number. It's somewhere in the 20s. So that is where we are. We've made it to the playoffs almost, so a feat for our first year of video podcasting. Marie McCormack is with us, as per usual, our esteemed football writer and foodie. And Amanda Ruler, I'm not even sure. We could probably use up the time allotted to us here, which is infinite, on describing the many things that you do. I'm not sure how to do this with any brevity or eloquence. How would you summarize the marvel that is Amanda Ruler?
Hi, guys.
I discovered you, by the way.
Yes, you know what? He discovered me long ago when I was doing track and field.
Douglas Park.
Douglas Park. Was that in high school?
Yeah.
I was in high school, I was a young buck trying to run track and field, and he came up and interviewed me. So that was my first taste of what it was like to be in the leader post. And from there, I continued doing athletics, went to the University of Regina for track and field, did some soccer there. Was on the Canadian bobsled and skeleton team. I played in the Legends Football League for the Atlanta Steam and the LA Temptation. Team Canada football member, Olympic lifting, Team Saskatchewan member, Riders game day host last season, and still working with the Riders as the Rider Hype girl. So, yeah. Lots of stuff. Hype man.
That's a lot to put on a business card, man.
Hype. Athlete / hype man.
You're an influencer, too.
Influencer. Yes. Influencer. Tons of companies in Saskatchewan. Some in the United States reach out to me to promote products, to come to events, and talk on their behalf.
Man. Well, that's our show for today. That was...
Sorry.
I just got out of bed this morning.
Like,
that's
what?
all I did. What I accomplished today, not much else.
I feel so unworthy considering everything you've done. I think I managed to tie one of my shoes correctly today.
Well, it all started with you, so
yeah, well,
I give you credit.
I remember one of your teachers came up to me and said, I know this really interesting student. You've got to talk to her. And I said, okay. And there. So
I'm glad you did.
I get 10% of everything now because I discovered you.
That's right.
Finder's fee.
That's right. We'll make a contract.
Well, it's appropriate given your hype, the fact that you're a hyper.
Yeah.
Home playoff game first in 5 years, and that's something worth hyping.
I'm extremely hype about this. I mean, in 5 years, this is exciting, especially in the new Mosaic Stadium. I know it was new last year, but it's still new in my eyes. Like when I go in there, you just have to take a breath because it's so, I guess, breathtaking. I don't know.
Mur? You're breathtaking too, by the way.
I'm breathtaking too.
Oh, and you too.
So I'd suggest visiting a respirologist.
I'm kind of thinking, here you are today. Riders are going to the playoffs. You got a chance to get to the Grey Cup. Thinking back to many times we've held this podcast, and it's been, oh no, the sky is falling, the world is ending, the Riders aren't going anywhere. And here they are, the second best record in the CFL.
Yeah, there have been some really somber podcasts this year for 12 and 16.
Yeah, and for 12 and 16. No, so it's exciting. I think it's always more exciting when the Riders are in the playoffs. Rob and I will tell you that all the times. People start to care more about what we do, and they actually buy papers. I think they buy papers. Hopefully.
Oh, for my stuff.
That's true too. Yeah, must have been a good week last week.
Or when we have Amanda on the cover.
And Amanda too. So anyway, what I was saying, yeah, it's exciting. And I think the fact it's going to be in the new stadium, I think that's another step forward to being the stadium becoming part of Regina, part of the province, all that stuff. It's already there, but it's just that fact that it's going to be hopefully a big crowd, because unfortunately, playoff games have an unfortunate history of not selling out for
the last two didn't. 1988, they hadn't had a playoff game period in 12 years, and it didn't sell out.
It was like 45 below.
That was awful.
That was like one of the, we'll reminisce about cold days.
95 Grey Cup didn't sell out. They had 52,000 and change as opposed to the 55 or 38 they had versus Calgary.
55,000. It was 30 above the Grey Cup in 95. Remember, they almost canceled or postponed it because of the wind. So maybe weather.
It's going to be a bit of a challenge for the Riders trying to sell these tickets because the element this week certainly isn't going to be a drawing card in terms of the climate, and people just seem to be getting nicer and nicer televisions every day.
Exactly.
You're involved with how would you coerce or entice people to go to what's the hook for going to this game as opposed to watching it on TV in the comfort of your den or living room?
Honestly, there's nothing like the atmosphere at a Rider game. Once you get in there, it's like your spirit is re-energized because everyone around you is so excited about the Riders. There's no greater fans in the CFL than Rider Nation, that's for sure. So when you go there, you just feel the love from everybody. Everyone's high-fiving each other. They're high-fiving strangers. They're hugging strangers. Like, I'm in the mix, usually at Party in the Park, entertaining everybody, giving out swag, talking to people, and everyone's just so excited. They're talking with me, giving me high fives, being like, who do you think's going to win? I'm like, obviously Riders. So I think the hype level is already there, and if you come, you'll just have an entertaining experience opposed to just being at home. Yeah, you might be warm, but you'll be sitting next to someone and you can cuddle up with them and you can get warm. So just come on down. I'll be there giving away swag, so you might see me. You might get some swag.
I've noticed that in the press box, too much high-fiving or cuddling with the people beside me.
Well, I keep trying to hug you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Rob's a little bit too close.
It's all unrequited. I'm really upset.
Yeah. The press box is a whole other world. And it's funny because people talk about how loud and raucous it is in there. In the press box, we're like an aquarium.
We have no feel for it.
No sense of what's going on. Really funny. Like
it's like being in a focus group sitting in the press box because it's really quiet in there.
Right.
The windows aren't generally open and it can be really loud and we're thinking it's really subdued in here. And the old place, we had a lot better idea of what the vibe was like. Not that it really matters to the general public what it's like in the press box, but I'm just not sure I'm qualified to appraise what the buzz is in the new stadium because it's muted by design. Mm-hmm. What have you found it to be like having gone to games for a couple of years in the new place? Like how does it compare? Because you'd hear it a lot better than we would.
You know what? I actually just went to a concert in the States in Los Angeles. I went to the Drake concert, and it was louder at Rider Nation. Really? Hearing people cheer for the Riders than people were cheering for Drake because especially last season, I was on the field like the whole time basically, and hearing when the Riders came out to bring them out, it was electric. I heard more of a cheer for them than I did for Drake. To be honest, I actually said that to the person that I was with. I was just like, even that stadium held, I think, like 30,000 people, and this is 33,000 people cheering, chanting, getting excited, and especially when the Riders come out, it's like everyone's done. Like they're just so excited. Like it's unlike anything I've ever heard.
Let's put Rob on the spot. Can you name a Drake song?
Started at the bottom now. Is that Drake?
You're right. Okay. That's it.
I'm sorry, I don't know any.
Started at the bottom, now we're here. Started at the bottom, now the whole team's here. Want to dance?
Yeah,
sure. Is that Drake?
Yep.
I thought that was a jazz song.
No. The jazz song lasts longer than the podcast.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah.
So do I get a prize for actually identifying a Drake song?
Yep. You get a high five.
Beautiful.
Wow. See, that's a high five you deserved every game.
Wow.
And I gave it to you. Yeah.
Rob knows the Drake song. I think that's going to be probably the biggest thing we're going to get out of this podcast today.
Yeah.
I don't even know where I know it. I must have picked it up from a Raptors game or something.
I think so. Yep.
Man.
Wow. Anyway,
I'm just trying to regroup after this because I didn't think I was capable of such.
I thought I'd stumped it for
feats.
sure. Oh well. Leonard Skinner song.
Sweet Home Alabama.
Okay, pretty easy.
And there's another one. Freebird.
Freebird.
Okay.
I'm going out to that song. That's my funeral song. I want that played at my funeral. So hope you hear it.
It's interesting because the last game, it's hard to believe it's been 5 years since the last home playoff game. Because
I know.
I think that Darian Durant game is burned into a lot of brains. And as much as people remember the Grey Cup in 2013, it was obviously it's an amazing experience. They don't get there if it wasn't for the Darian Durant game. In 2010, they had a tougher time beating the BC Lions in the first round of the playoffs than they did beating Calgary to get to the Grey Cup. So this first round game sometimes can be the toughest one.
Oh, I think it's going to be the toughest.
89, they needed everything to get past Calgary.
And also, how well is Winnipeg playing right now? Are they the second best team in the league right now? Calgary won, but is Winnipeg the second strongest team or strongest right now? I think Winnipeg's playing so well. For them to get by, it's going to take a lot. I think it's going to be. Guess what they're going to have to do? Play offense. They have to score touchdowns. They're just not going to win on.
Or at least don't give up any.
Yeah.
It's going to be. Yeah, they
don't lose serve when you're on offense.
Yeah, that's a good point. But they're going to have to score some points on offense to get by, to get something of a playoff run going, aren't they?
Yeah.
You would think.
Well, they do score points. They do score points,
do.
but touchdowns, I think, is.
Like I've been saying that all year, but they won 2 games where they didn't score an offensive touchdown. One of them was in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
So one of them was just special teams points.
It's not impossible, but I think you're pushing your luck if you keep relying on the defense to be your offense.
Right.
It would stand to reason, but they're 12-6 and they got a home playoff game. So are we nitpicking too much?
Oh,
No.
we can't nitpick
Yeah,
enough.
not enough.
What's our purpose in life? To nitpick.
That's true.
That's
Exactly.
Talk about Drake.
we're talking about Drake. So
Oh
yeah.
man.
Yeah, we got to pick at that. We got to pick at the fact that maybe if we move on to a little bit to Drew Tate signing, I think.
What songs has he done?
See you later. I'll be back. I'll be back.
I'll be back. I'll be back for the Riders. I retired. Now I'm back.
Yeah.
And now I'm here.
That was another. Was that on Saturday?
Saturday.
That was on
late
Saturday.
evening or late Saturday afternoon? Or?
Yeah, I woke up to a tweet that said Drew Tate was coming. So I'm like, okay, all right. So is he going to take over for Zach Collaros then in
I
this
think
game?
Rob is more connected with him on this one because I was on holidays, but I don't. I think Zach's fine. He's
think
signing
he's fine.
autographs on Saturday.
So
He's
I
gonna
saw
be
that he
fine.
was signing autographs. So
Yeah.
I think
okay.
my take, and I could be proven wrong Wednesday when the team returns to practice. I mean, they've got to be, even if Zach is fine, they've got to be concerned. He's left a game 3 times this season. So there's that, he's just got that fragility. Even if he starts, and I think he will, there is that susceptibility to having to leave a game. And I think the concern becomes, and then what? Because they've shown absolutely no confidence in Brandon Bridges here.
Maybe it's about time they stop showing
Yeah.
confidence in Brandon Bridge right now because the way he played in that game when it seems like so long ago against BC, that was not a confidence expanding sort of universe when you saw him play against the Lions. Did you see? He did a little bit of running with his legs and a couple of passes, but he's your guy for your fragile quarterback. They had to do something. Interesting to do it just before the season ends so he can get check and play out because I don't think they can sign him now. They couldn't have signed him now because the playoffs would start. I don't know. You're looking at me kind of.
I don't know these deadlines.
Me
I know our
The
deadlines.
hardest, as soon as you try to figure out a CFL roster deadline and stuff, you're just in over your head because it just never makes any sort of sense. Anyway,
They're always changing.
a good sign. So can he still play? He hasn't played since. Well, did he even play before he retired?
He played in Ottawa last year.
A little
yeah,
bit.
he
Yeah,
was in
so he
Ottawa
started
last
one
year,
game, but-
2017.
You know, it's an interesting thing. There's been, you wouldn't think ordinarily there'd be so much buzz over a guy who hasn't played a down of football this year and is 34
know.
years old, but it's the Rough Riders and it's a quarterback and there's Zach Collaros and questions about that. So I think it speaks to the fervor with which people approach this team that on a Saturday, your agenda could be dictated by one tweet concerning Drew Tate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like a lot of the time, Zach Collaros, like he does well, everyone loves him, and then he does one thing bad. I feel like people flip on him too soon and too easily. So
Maybe not.
maybe
Well,
not.
Maybe not. I think it's deserved, the criticisms you see this year. I think it's not. It's all been well based on what he's done and what he has. I know there's other factors like the offensive line's taken a while to gel and the receivers have really taken a while, have come on strong, but he's the quarterback. He's making $430,000 a year. As they say, the buck stops there. He's the one that has to take, and he kind of accounts for it. He doesn't really say it, but I think he realizes it's his job, and I think.
But a lot of the time, I go back to that game in Winnipeg when they lost 31-0, and it was his quarterback rating was 8.4,
Right.
and which is also my readership. But I watched that game over, and not everything, but many things that Zach Collaros was being blamed for weren't his fault. A receiver slows down on a route, there's an interception.
Right.
Zach Collaros gets blamed for it. Receiver doesn't finish a route, Zach Collaros gets blamed for it. Problems with pass protection, Zach Collaros ends up throwing a bad pass, he gets blamed for it. That Winnipeg game was really interesting because the more you broke that Winnipeg game down, it's easy, the knee-jerk reaction is to blame the quarterback, but afterwards, everything he was being blamed for appeared to be somebody else's fault.
Maybe it was the way he started. The way he started kind of lent itself to not being exactly confidence-inspired when that first pass into triple coverage hitch.
Well, he throws to Kyran Moore fumbles the ball, and it gets scooped up, returned for a touchdown. Now, how is that Zach Collaros' fault? He completed the pass.
Yeah.
Right?
So did Moore. So credit for it, too. Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right, Amanda. And it may, I'm not one who's averse to criticizing Zach Collaros. I've done it. It comes with the territory, and it certainly comes with a salary. But if you look at this offense, and the caliber of playmakers isn't what it was a year ago. The offensive line, I think, is better, but the supporting cast isn't as good, and the I think the scheme is open to question. But the quarterback gets the brunt of it. Is that just the reality that a quarterback has to face, or is there any way of ever altering people's opinions on this?
I think so. I think they take a lot of because it starts with them. So then I guess it ends with him if it doesn't go well.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I've just kind of seen with him. So.
Yeah.
So how do you break down this game? You've got two teams that are playing at a very high level. The Riders, after losing 31-0 in Winnipeg, they won in Calgary, and then they beat BC to clinch a home playoff game. So they're playing, even if you subtract the Winnipeg game or consider the Winnipeg game, I think they more than made amends for it. In Winnipeg, they lost their last game, but it didn't mean anything, and they won 5 in a row before that. It's is this a coin flip?
I think so. I'm not even sure who's going to win this game, but I'm excited to see it play out.
What excites you about this game?
Well, I really like watching the defense. When they come on, especially like someone like Willie Jefferson, he's one of my favorite players right now because when he hits the scene, you just hear a huge reaction from the crowd because he's always such a big playmaker and he makes great things happen. He just explodes on the scene and everyone's very proud of him. And the message he stands for, he's got such a great personality and he's such a great guy as well. I think maybe I take that into consideration. I've been doing a lot of the Riders block parties like in the summer and getting to interview these players and getting to know them a bit, and he's one of my favorite players to interview. He's always got something interesting to say, and he's very charismatic as well. So sorry to get off topic. I'm just really excited
that's pertinent to the question.
I'm excited about the game. I'm excited to see defense come in there and show the other team like what we got, shut down Winnipeg, and let's just go for it.
Mur, what intrigues you about this game?
Well, the defense is exciting. I do love defense. I think it comes down to the offense. I think the Riders have got to go up against Winnipeg's offense, which is, I think, better than the Riders' offense. And the offense has got to come through. That's why I'm interesting to see if Zach Clare's going to step for Jordan Williams-Lambert, Cameron Marshall. 3 guys I think are going to be key for this team in that game. If they all step up, I think the offense can carry them. But if they don't, I don't see.
Yeah.
I wonder if this one comes down to Winnipeg's defense is better than it used to be, and Adam Bighill may very well be named the most outstanding player in the league. So you've got, when the Riders were in Winnipeg last time, Adam Bighill owned the Riders' offense. The previous visit to Winnipeg, Willie Jefferson owned the Bombers' offense. So you're dealing with, I think you might have the 2 defensive players in the league who can alter or most liable to alter the course of a football game, to be an influencer on the football game. And they normally coming into playoff games, there's a lot of talk about the offense, but I think Bighill Jefferson, who outdoes one another, that might tell the tale.
But then you got a guy, Carlson Hughes, with 15 sacks. He doesn't get a sniff of the individual awards, which is kind of crazy. I don't know if that has to do with his off-field issues as much as it does that Willie Jefferson was that good.
Right.
That it kind of changes things. But Charleston Hughes, don't forget about Charleston Hughes. He's going to be there.
3 years in a row leading the league in sacks.
Yeah, I know. 15 sacks. Remember we thought he was going to hit 22 at one time. He had 14 or somebody, 12 or 13 way back.
Yeah, it kind of stopped for a bit. But
yeah, he's kind of
that happened to John Chick in 2014. Remember the early pace he was on. And then,
and then you got
over the course of the season, things tend to level out a little bit.
And we're talking about defensive. Sam McGuavin he's not I don't think he's an Adam Bighill, but he's in his Adam Bighill's league, obviously. But Sam McGuavin's had a pretty good year too.
He's probably their most consistent defensive player. I'm not sure he was the most outstanding, but he was consistent game in, game out.
And a guy who doesn't get a lot of credit, I know he had the 2 back-to-back series from Heck against the Lions, is Lucius Purefoy, and what he's managed to do for that defense. He's got 3 picks, I think. He blitzes, comes from all over the place. And, a little underrated guy, if he can be underrated. He's not the flashy. I guess they're all flashy as DBs, but he's a guy I think could have a real impact in this game too.
Who else aside from Willie are you going to be watching and paying attention to on Saturday as far as what they can do to a football game?
Yeah, obviously Hughes, because I think a lot of the time the team sees Jefferson as a threat, so they're obviously going to double team him. So I think Hughes has a good opportunity to come in there and come up and do his thing without being too much. They probably don't see him as a huge threat right now. But maybe they're thinking the same as me. So I'm excited to see what he does. He's another guy that comes in and does great work and obviously makes plays and great personality guy. So
Chris Jones intrigues me with this one. Chris Jones coming off a bye week has got to be very tough to coach against because you just give him that much time to prepare for an opponent. And that's part of the reputation. If he has that extra week, he's really tough to go against. Well, he's had that extra week.
Is it all him, though?
How tough is him and that staff?
Yeah, I think we got a big picture because it's the stats been together.
But Chris Jones is the head coach and the defensive coordinator. So how big is the Chris Jones factor? If I look at this coaching matchup and I see Chris Jones versus Michael O'Shea, I don't really think that's much of a matchup. I think the Riders annihilate them coaching-wise.
But I think if you draw in the bigger picture of Stephen McAdoo, maybe he's not a Paul LaPolice, but
LaPolice versus McAdoo might be the same lopsidedness in Winnipeg's favor.
Yeah, and then you get Richie Hall versus Chris Jones, and Richie Hall with his bend don't break kind of defense, and then you got Craig Dickinson, who I'm not sure who Winnipeg's special teams coach is.
It's basically Michael O'Shea, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it would be too. And so yeah, they got the big picture. I think this staff knows how to prepare because they've been together since 2014 at least, all of them, most of them. So they know what to do to get ready for a playoff game. And Chris Jones has been there many times. Like you keep thinking, this last year was the first, or 15 was the first year he missed the playoffs in his career. 16. What
15.
Year?
16. Yeah.
16, 15, whatever.
He just and it was so atypical for that to happen, but they've made up for it since then.
So you think they can beat Winnipeg then? Is what you're?
I think.
Do we take the 31-0 game and just throw it out?
Well, I think they threw out the 31-0 game when they went to Calgary the next week and won. Mm-hmm. I think that indicated that game isn't going to hang over them. They more than atoned for it. I think they'll beat Winnipeg. I just think Chris Jones with another week. I think home field is big, and in the playoffs, I think the Riders' defense is better than Winnipeg's, even with Adam Bighill factored in. So unfortunately for Rider fans, because I'm never really right with these things, I think the Riders will win.
I know we're not supposed to look beyond the game, but look who's waiting for them. A Calgary Stampeder team that looks like it's back in form. Mm-hmm. I think that game on Saturday, which is probably the highest rated last regular season game in CFL history, because I think a lot of people were watching it, and Calgary Stampeders were just awesome in that first half. That was the Stampeders team you can think it can. So they got a tough. Whoever goes to Calgary is going to be in tough. I think Calgary's back. It's kind of regained its form.
And they've got some time to rest now. Who knows what influence that's going to have on their receiving
core. I know some people question this bye week for the Rough Riders, if it was a good or bad thing. I have to say, on my behalf, my body's feeling refreshed and I'm ready to go, sort of.
Yeah, rub that in.
Put him in. He's good to go.
When you've got an injured quarterback, how can a bye week not be beneficial?
Exactly. You need to rest, recharge, get your body in check. I know as an athlete, it's personally good to have if you're playing week after week, it's good to have a little bit of break. I was always looking forward to bye weeks.
They went 11 weeks in a row, which is...
That's insane to me because especially your central nervous system is just ready to have a week break and recharge. That's huge for an athlete. That's huge. And this gives you a chance to hang out with friends, maybe family, eat some really good food, recharge, get some cold tubs in. I know it's cold out there now, but get that body right and get back at it. And I think this is a great opportunity for them.
Chris Jones charts how many the guys go into the cold tubs. There's a coach that stands there and makes sure they take their dump.
How many do they have to do a week?
Well, they have. I think they have to do it after every practice. For sure.
That was one of my favorite things, actually, as an athlete at the University of Regina. They had cold tubs, and I had to do cold tubs like 3 times a week after practice. And I was actually about it. Like, I loved doing it. It sucks when you initially go in.
Yeah.
But I love it because it makes your body feel great.
I was at a spa in Mexico. We had the hot tub and the cold tub, and the cold tub. And it made myself feel a lot better because I was a little done under the weather in Mexico. But I did like the cold tubs for kind of shaking away the cobwebs.
Yeah.
Doesn't that, shock you? Would that not just kill me to get into a cold tub?
Initially it's quite cold, so once you get in, it kind of constricts everything in your body, so it tightens it up. So think about it as a massage, because as soon as you come out, it has a slow release of blood flow, so it's vasoconstriction and then vasodilation. So you're actually shooting at metabolic waste through your body, equaling just better blood flow, more anything to those muscles that are kind of injured, you're going to repair faster.
Huh.
Man, this has been very educational.
Wow. Speaking of hot tubs and cold tubs, can we move on to Poop Johnson?
Of course.
I'll let you have your soliloquy about Poop Johnson.
What was my soliloquy going to be? Oh,
you wanted to talk about Poop Johnson. So
I'm going to say Drew Tate can come in and come and go, whatever he wants to do. The Riders were in desperate need of a defensive tackle, and they go out and they get arguably a guy who's for some reason wasn't on the Bombers roster. He can provide them with insights. With Mikhail Brooks out, and I think Kurt Madgett, I think he's probably going to be out too. So they needed a defensive tackle. They go out and get, obviously, one who was good enough to play. a big signing. I think it's been kind of overlooked and all the other buzz going on around here, but they needed another defensive tackle with Andrew Harris coming in. And I think it's going to be a big signing. And plus, he might have the most intriguing nickname in sports, in Poop. And I have no idea
I
why
had
it's
that
called
nickname
Poop.
in high school. Nobody made a big deal of it.
What is it? Poop Razor, weren't you? I don't know what you were, but Poop just seems to be a good signing. So, I was just it's kind of, people talk about Drew Tate's kind of overtaking things, but when I saw Poop Johnson signed, I went, yes, that's makes a lot of sense. Zach Evans and Poop.
Aren't you glad you came in so we could talk about Poop Johnson?
I'm so glad.
This has now turned into a poop cast.
Right? Oh, there you go. See? Play on words. I love it. We're
Rob, what do
letting
you
the
think?
people know
Or,
about
man,
what's happening.
What do you think about Poop?
I want to know where he got the name from.
Me too.
I think that's what my feelings exactly.
Yeah.
I think I think we're gonna have a joust this week over who gets to do the Poop Johnson story.
Well,
Because I want to have fun with it, and you want to have fun with it, and
no. I'll get Zach then. I'll have fun with Zach.
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, fun with Zach.
Right.
Zach's not the most fun-loving guy when he's talking to the media. Speaking of a hype person,
Yeah.
he's kind of quiet.
Oh, okay.
He's different.
Guarded.
We're so used to Darian Durant, we're so used to Kevin Glenn, people who are really engaging with the media. And Zach Collaros is, I don't find him to be unfriendly. There just isn't a lot of information there. Maybe he's been burned in the past by the media. I don't know what I've chatted with him off the cuff a couple of times after scrums, and he's been very friendly. And I don't think he's an unfriendly person. There really isn't much to be gained from interviewing him.
Cheers for the Steelers. I asked him that. I thought because from Ohio, I thought he cheered for the Bengals, and he was quite hurt or put off that I would even suggest that. So, but the only thing we talk about now is whether Mike Tomlin's going to last the season. But I think Mike Tomlin's going to last the season now after we handled those Ravens yesterday.
How do you think he's going to do? I mean, this is such a so much is at stake not only for the Rough Riders but for Zach Collaros. He's on a 1-year contract, making a lot of money. If he wants to keep making a lot of money, he's got to have a big playoffs.
Exactly.
And this is what they were a team that was one play away from getting to the Grey Cup last year, and they led the league in touchdown passes with Kevin Glenn and Brandon Bridge. They thought they needed to blow up the quarterbacking situation. Goodbye, Kevin Glenn. Hello, Zach Collaros. How much do you think is at stake
I think
for Collaros?
A lot.
Collaros, pardon me.
For Collaros, I think that he really needs to step up. If he is injured, do the best he can to get to the playoffs and really show up and do the best that he can. He even after that game they lost 31-0. The next game he threw for like 350 yards. So we just need another game like that. Just show up and don't stress too much about it, but just come out there, have fun. Like I think that's when athletes thrive is just knowing that this is a great situation to make big plays and just live your life. And this is the moment you need to succeed.
And he was amazing in that Calgary game.
He was amazing.
He had a quarterback rating of over 100 without throwing a touchdown pass. Just moved the offense so well and managed the game so nicely, and no turnovers, and just that's what you want your quarterback to do. And that's what, especially in this offense, that's how they want their quarterback to play. And that Calgary game was textbook as far as what he's got to do. So it's not like they're asking him to do something in the playoffs that he hasn't already done.
Exactly.
He needs to replicate that.
Well, he's got the Tiger Cats to the Grey Cup. 14, wasn't it? 14, that's 13 they were here.
And what would have happened in 15 if he hadn't gotten hurt?
Gotten hurt too. It's funny, I was thinking about this a little bit more with Drew Tate. I was wondering remember the Riders signed a couple of strange quarterbacks in the past? Oh, wait, was it Michael Bishop? They brought him in.
That was the Michael Bishop year.
And then when did Kerry Joseph come in?
Kerry Joseph was 2014.
And remember that West Division semifinal? That was what, five turnovers and the pick and five. I thought, why are they doing this? Like I remember way back Ken Miller justifying Michael Bishop to us on a Sunday morning because they signed him because everyone was thinking, I don't know, what, 50 cent arm, 50 cent head, something like that. Were they?
And then they had Darian Durant on the roster at the time.
Didn't use him. And then Kerry had that bad game against. I felt sorry for him in that game. That was pretty bad. He wasn't ready.
That's not the way for a class act like Kerry Joseph to go out. He was put in such a bad situation, and the results were what they were. But
well, hopefully we never see him. Wouldn't that be in the perfect world? Would Drew Tate is only on the sidelines holding a clipboard and trying to help out? But
is it how much of an ask is that for an athlete? To when you haven't been doing it for a year or the better part of a year, suddenly to come in and be what you what you were.
Be what you were.
How much of an ask is that?
What was he? What was he? Hang on. What was he? Was he any
A reliable backup.
Exactly.
He was a reliable backup.
He had one of those last year.
I would
Can
be
you flip
overwhelmed.
that switch?
I would be so overwhelmed because especially if I just started to take, like, I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to retire. I'm not going to be working out anymore. I'm just going to coach. I don't think I could come back 100%. Like, you can't just flip that switch. People have to realize that it's training, it's repetition, it's muscle memory. And if you don't have that, just having a couple reps here and there, I don't think that's going to bring him back to 100%. He's going to have to slowly, gradually get there. It's kind of confusing to me how they would expect him to be 100 right away. So
I think
that
this has been in the works for a while.
Yeah.
I don't think this happened on Saturday morning. They
so
decided
maybe he's been working out on
maybe
the side.
he's been working out for
Yeah.
a couple of weeks. Because they've got to have known, like, the BC game wouldn't be the final straw because Brandon Bridge didn't do anything he hadn't done before. And I wonder if they started to look and says, okay, we may get Drew Tate. He can come in and help get him warmed up and practice it wherever. What is a
I
school
hope
he was
so.
at? What school was he at again? I
South
forget.
Carolina.
Coastal.
Coastal.
Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, was it Coastal Carolina? Sorry.
What confuses me, though, is last year when Brandon Bridge came into a game, they'd let him do things. He threw one touchdown pass every 13.8 attempts. This year, he threw one touchdown pass in 131 attempts. They'd come in. He would push the ball downfield more than Kevin Glenn did. He would use his legs. He would use his gifts. And he played tremendously, almost got them to a Grey Cup.
Yeah.
This year, Brandon Bridge seems to be, they almost have him typecast as a system quarterback, and he doesn't throw downfield, and he doesn't use his mobility. So instead of being the guy who's pushing the ball downfield, he's the guy who's coming in and suddenly there's restraints placed upon the offense.
Trying not to lose.
Is that his fault or is that scheme? I think it's more scheme than Brandon Bridge because there was a pretty significant sample of work last year where he was a real catalyst and a spark plug for the team.
I wonder if it is when he came in to start, when he did not really dominate as a starter, kind of set him back a little bit. When he came in, when he had his opportunity, he really didn't. Well, I guess he won 4 games with him, didn't he? Or 4? Two. It's close.
But he came off the bench and helped them too. But
yeah. So
how important is that, Amanda? Because you've had coaches.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a coach who clearly has that confidence in you,
Yeah.
regardless of what sport it is, how much does that mean to an athlete? Because I question whether there's that faith in Brandon Bridge looking at how they deploy him.
Oh, it means everything. When your coach has confidence in you as an athlete, you just feel like you could take over the world. Like you could go in there and you could do anything, whether it be like if you would be successful with the play or you maybe messed it up a little bit and you come back like, okay, regroup and go back out there. You feel more confident getting back out there and doing the job. Sometimes, like, if I ever felt like a coach didn't have confidence in me, I felt bad. Like, I felt like if I mess up, they're going to hate me. And that's something that could be just over your head when you're going into the play. Like, I better not mess up or they'll hate me or they won't play me again. And that could really throw off your play and maybe even cause, like, an injury because you're over trying and you're so stressed out. It's just injury waiting to happen, so...
Mur, we're at the final thoughts portion of our podcast. Do you have any closing remarks that will inspire?
I know people are going to say the Riders playoff games on Remembrance Day. So people are going to say, why are they playing football on this day? I think it's a part of life. Remembrance Day is very important. I had a dad that was in the Korean War with the Vandu, so it's important. But I think it's something that's I think it's a good part of the CFL. You know, they're going to do a lot of stuff to meld in the Remembrance Day and memorial stuff and all that kind of stuff. So I think this complaining going to happen, but I think it's going to be a great day for every part of football, remembering some of our fallen best.
Amanda?
Yeah, I like the idea because especially if you are going to a game, you can come together as a community and kind of remember what had happened. And I know they're going to do tributes and something like that to remember it. So I think it's a good opportunity because otherwise you might be just at home and not have that same experience on Remembrance Day.
Maybe it'll be a memorable one.
Yes, it'll be a game to remember.
For the first time, I have remembered to read our little spiel at the end.
Oh.
Austin Davis is applauding.
Yeah.
I can't. This is illegible. I'm told this is episode 26. If you enjoy this podcast, please rate and review us on iTunes to help Rider Rumblings keep growing. As it stands, only I keep growing. And that's our number 26. So
Tune in next week for all the inside poop on Poop Johnson.
in episode 27. Amanda Ruler, thank you so much for
Thank
joining us.
you
It's
for
been great to have
having
you. Murray, it hasn't been great to have you, but
It was nice to be
you
here.
had to
I'm
be here.
A week away from you was like 2 weeks off, so I'll take that anytime.
Great, I'll rescind one of your weeks of holidays then. For Amanda, Murray, I'm Rob. Thanks so much. Take care.